This. Oh, we're live. Aloha, everybody. It's loud. We're gonna do an update.
All right, guys. Yeah, welcome to the hub. We are here in Puna for one of our last celebrations of the year at the hub. Tonight, we're celebrating everything that we've done together as a community this year. All the trials we've gone through. You know, everything that we learned and evolved together.
Wow.
We all grew, right? You know, we all made a lot of lifelong friendships, I'm sure, you know, totally. Connections, you know, had experiences that we will probably never have in our lives again, right? You know, so we are, coming together to celebrate each other, not so much what brought us together, but, you know, what we did about it, right? You know,
it's been a journey.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And an honor. It's been an honor, Phil.
Yeah,
it really has.
Been an honor. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, we, you know, the story at the hub is going to be closing down soon. You know, we're going to be distributions continuing today, shortly. Almost done here. It'll be happening on Monday one more time, from what Ikaika told us earlier tonight. So 2 to 6 on Monday is probably going to be the actual last day.
Okay.
And unless there's like a whole bunch of more stuff that comes in or something weird, random happens, as far as we know right now, Monday is the last day.
Okay.
Could change. And Monday evening is our community dinner as well. So 6 to 8 p.m. here at the hub, we're going to have our final community dinner of the year. Everyone can come and join us. You know, we're having dinner tonight and again on Monday. So 2 celebrations, right? You know,
come on down.
Yeah. So yeah, come on down and join us. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's that time of year, right? Holiday time, whatever you guys believe in. You know, all different kind of time of coming together and you know, reflecting and sharing time with each other, and you know, kind of looking forward to like all those things are kind of happening with us as well, right? So yeah, it's been a long year for us. You know, Volcano is going to be around our whole lives. You know, probably not as active as this last year the entire time, right?
Hopefully not. Yeah, this was pretty epic. You gotta always respect whatever happens next. What just happened 2018 is historical. We'll never forget what we just went through, and it's been an amazing journey. It's quite a year, and the hub, it's been amazing. Everybody coming together.
Low, pause, a brief respite.
Okay.
Any of those things will
work. For how many years? How many years?
3 to 30.
And I agree with Kavi. Now, except about the 30 part. I agree with the 3
I'll take
part.
30.
Maybe 3.
I'll be older than I am now.
Maybe 3. We'll see. But we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Kavi's referring to an article that came out in the paper today that, you know, throws out a bunch of things.
Orange.
So, orange,
back to green.
Okay.
Welcome back,
so
everybody.
Oh, hi, Brad. Good to see you.
Oh, Brad's on.
We get you guys who are not here physically or here in spirit. So thank you. Everyone has worked together this year. But the article mentioned some superlatives, right? Like how this eruption is the biggest one in the last 200 years in Puna, more or less. You know, certainly that's true of the caldera collapse.
That's like a reverse photo bomb.
Good smile, guys. Reverse selfie going on here.
We were... never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like the infinite mirror thing going on there. Huh? Our souls are getting sucked out here, so left. Old beliefs. Anyways. 62 collapse events at the summit, average magnitude 5.2.
Wow.
Right, you know, 4 months of eruption, you know, 3 months basically continuous. And a lot of worry since then, still today. I know you guys are all still kind of on edge. We're all kind of a little traumatized from what happened. Not quite sure like what to expect next, not quite sure what to do next. That's normal, you know, that's all good, you know, like time to reflect on a year, you know, on all our shared experiences and share time together, you know, it's a new year. Time to kind of, you know, pick up the pieces a little more and, you know, make a new plan for the next year. Things we do every year, right? So it's kind of a time where you can kind of get back to a little bit of normal, I think.
Hopefully.
A little bit of normal, right? You know, I know it's not everyone feels the same about the holidays, and it's, you know, everyone's got their own take, but, you know, whatever normal is for you, hopefully that's what you can get back to, right? You know, that's kind of what, you know, where I'm coming from right now.
Yeah, it's time to review, time to look back from it, process it. It's that time now, for sure. It's the end of the year. and it's been an incredible experience, incredible journey what has happened. So let it out, come and celebrate, come and hang out, reflect on it. It's a good time.
So for the hub, we'll be here tonight. If you guys are in the area, come by tonight. We'll probably be here late. They got the speakers set up. There's probably gonna be live music by the looks of it. So come check us out if you're in the area. And if you can't make it tonight, Monday, community dinner as well. So that's kind of the next thing going on. On a my personal note, like I got a bunch of family coming to visit soon. It's gonna be a really busy time for me coming up. And we're gonna give you guys a full update today. What's happening with the volcano. If something major happens, we'll drop back in again. I'm gonna take a break until probably after the New Year's. You guys, as far as the updates, kind of spend time with the family, like I've suggested everyone else do. We're here for you guys. Something happens, you need us, we'll be back. We'll be back online. But in the meantime, you guys, Ikaika's still on all the time. Something major happens, we'll come back up. Yeah, so
totally.
And we realize there's a huge teaching opportunity, a huge learning opportunity here for you guys. There's lots we can go over, as time goes on. But there's no real rush for that to happen, like before the holidays or before something else like that. So I think a break's a natural thing. That's what I'm feeling. Natural time for break.
Totally. At least for the holidays, we'll still be here. Anything that happens that's real significant, I'm sure there'll be updates immediately. And yeah, it's a great time to we'll ease up on Isn't this positive news? The idea that we might not need as many updates for some time. It's not like we're going away, but scale it back, rest a little, reflect on what already happened.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of community plans kind of going in motion. So you guys are going to see us around if you're in the area. So we're not really going anywhere. It's just we just need
evolving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll turn to some data maybe?
Volcano data, yep. Let's do it.
Let's go through our typical lineup, our usual lineup. Let me turn
some earthquakes.
That's the wrong button. So here's our earthquakes for the last 7 days. The earthquakes have been fairly steady, if anything a little bit quieter, but they're in more or less the same areas. There's nothing kind of happening where we haven't seen it happen recently. There's nothing happening more so than before significantly or less so than before significantly. It's kind of business as usual, more or less. It could be that in hindsight there's something embedded in here we could kind of tease out, but there's nothing really obvious, right?
Right.
And that's just one of the data sources we're using, so if we see all the others are pointing at something else, we'll kind of revisit this. But right now, this is just on a first glance, the earthquakes, nothing unusual jumps out right there, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's increasing, right? So we go by the trend is that there's kind of less and less going on earthquakes, so we'll go with that for now,
Yeah, yep. So let's turn to, I actually have GPS here ready, so do you want to do that first?
GPS, these are the ones that wiggle but are typically flat. Maybe a slightest inflation trend at the one at the summit, which we both agree would be appropriate, that if the magma is still being supplied to the volcano, this is the one we can expect will inflate gradually over time. It looks like it might be hinting at slightly rising over time, but yep, so that's consistent with what we think would be.
Just to throw a wrench in it, because that's, even if it's against what I said earlier, this movement could happen from the South Caldera area moving to the south as well, right? So it's not quite clear, it's not unambiguous that there's enough magma, going into the summit to actually push it like that, right? It could be sliding still, and the south part of the caldera could be moving south, thus widening distance across the caldera, but from movement of the south flank instead of the magma, right? So it's not quite clear, it's a little ambiguous still. I would say the real smoking gun to me as far as the summit is what we learned recently about carbon and sulfur ratios of gases at the summit. That to me, what we learned basically is that, I know I'm jumping around here, but we had there actually was a spike in carbon, so carbon dioxide has not stopped coming out of the summit, while sulfur basically has, or has slowed down a lot, right? So the fact that the carbon dioxide is coming out of the summit means it's still exolving at that depth down, it's really deep down there, like 5K, 6K down there, right? Where the CO2 comes out, but
deeper than that.
Yeah, even deeper than that, right? But at most to that depth, maybe above that we can't say so much, but at those deeper parts of the volcano, magma is still coming under the summit. I think that's what I'm comfortable in saying. And how long it takes to get to the summit, how far down it is, I don't know. I don't know that, and like that's kind of the, you know, the biggest question everyone keeps asking us: how long is it going to be? And we just don't know. And you know, you can say, oh, there's this and that, but no one really knows. Right? So, yes, I know I've been saying the whole time that I think this is an inflation signal at the summit, but I just want to kind of back off what I said and argue against myself and say, well, it could also be the south flank moving still, and it's not quite unambiguous there. Yeah.
Okay.
In any case, at the flank, I don't see much change at the very end. No, it's kind of similar.
Similar.
Yeah.
Slowly down.
Yeah. But yeah, so whatever's happening there is not changing right now from what was happening like last week, for example, right? And do we want to go through all of these? Let's pick the interesting ones, huh? Because this one's, the interesting one is Jonica, I think, yeah?
Jonica still going up. Looked like it was changing more. It's not coming up as fast as it was a month or two ago. And it almost looked like it was dipping, but now as more data comes in, it looks like the trend is continuing, maybe flat or just slightly up. And that's the vertical, right? So over a few months, we've gained a few centimeters of vertical rise. And the other indicator of inflation is it's moved northward, but seems to have leveled off. And then there was this fluctuation, but now it looks like it's dipping more west again. It was coming east again, but moved west. So a little bit of fluctuation there, but it's either level or moving west again. Aloha.
Yeah, so that's interesting, and you know, I don't know what that means. You know, it's wiggling a little bit slightly, and it's not clear where it's going. And where it's going, it's not going very fast, I don't think. Based on that and that, especially, you know, whether it's rising or, you know, it looks like it is slightly rising, but it's slight, yeah. So yeah, apologize guys for the noise. You know, it's a kind of party night here, and we got a late start, so that's we'll enjoy some background music today. So, is there apart from Jonica, is there another GPS that you would like to point out, John?
Well, actually, we should probably mention, because one weird thing that has happened elsewhere on the volcano that we noticed, but we don't really know what it means, is this guy down here. The PG2R sensor has got this vertical dip, and this sensor is south of the rift inside of the national park by Kīlauea Puna, and it's one of maybe a couple sensors that are showing this vertical drop, and that's kind of unique. The rest of the ones don't show much change, not much drop, and so we'll have to wait and see if that continues. That seems like definitely a real thing. It's continuing, dropping down all of a sudden, and maybe it means that section of the mountain has slipped a little further than its neighboring sections or something like that. Remember, we're dealing with big, jumbled, cracked pieces of giant rock. And so, but anyway, that sensor has taken a dip downwards, and that's interesting. But this is off of the rift zone a little bit to the south, so these changes, even though it's happened quickly, there's not a lot to think that this is related to magma supply or anything like that. It might be the mountain moving. But anyway, it's interesting. Those are the kinds of things that we look out for if it changes all of a sudden.
Right. So, and that's definitely a real signal. If you look at the scale, like it's about 5 centimeters or so, right?
Yeah, about 5 centimeters.
So it is a smaller scale than the other ones of our plots, right? So just so you guys realize, when you see like this kind of little bit of scatter, it's because it's blown up more than the other plots on the same page.
Zoomed in closer.
Yeah, but it actually is still 5, even if it is, you know, like zoomed in. So I was going to point that out.
But yeah, the only reason to point it out is because it's notable. There's a change. It's not related to where we're watching to see if there's going to be magma inflating and erupting, but it's a pretty rapid change that we'll keep an eye on, see if it has other implications somewhere else later.
Right, yeah, that's what I would kind of lump into like a South Flanks area
exactly.
Station.
South Flank movement.
So we've been talking a lot about the South Flank recently, and so that's probably a hint of what's going on with that story, right?
Yep, and this is the other one. Well, Kipukanene, this one, there's a couple showing maybe a dip to the south as well, and they're all on the south flank. Maybe that one's dipping. So there's some nearby that show recently, over the past days or week, there's been a bit of a change, but it looks more like south flank associated movement than it does with anything with the magma system.
Right. So yeah, on a plot like this, when we're looking at the north component, and this is a station on the south flank, this is the thing moving to the south at a certain rate, and then right here, it actually, right before this, it moves faster, right? It's going steeper down, it's faster. So then here it's basically moving the same as before, and it might be getting slightly faster. It might not last very long, but it might be a slight speed up of the thing, you know, like, where it kind of moves and fits and starts, right? And it's doing a lurch now, kind of thing.
But again, I mean, any of this stuff, you got to understand, we're not necessarily going to come back online to do a special update when we see something like this. Because sometimes things change, but it doesn't lead to anything really happening or changing in a significant way. So, just pointing it out.
Something interesting. We know
it's interesting.
It's kind of like a longer term kind of thing, right? We can look back. You know, we can take off, you know, like almost every week now, and like look back every week and say, well, for the last week, here's the data all together. And as a whole, it's kind of more of what we can analyze. Whereas day by day, there's not as much insight we can get now. It takes longer to like see the long-term trends. It's kind of a natural thing to kind of back off a little bit, just because, you know, like we can't. It's hard to keep squeezing out day by day, you know, like from this amount of data we have. Right?
Yep. But we just keep track, and it gives us an indication of what forces might be at work currently, what's going on. So.
Right. There's a real interesting jump in
Kīlauea Puna is going up north, moving north.
Yeah, it's got a north movement. Yeah.
Interesting. So when we say it's moving north, that's that little thing. See, it looks like it spikes a little up. Will that continue? Because that indicates a movement north. We'll watch it and see if it continues, how much it becomes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's a, like we're saying, it's definitely still happening. Things are still changing. It's just like not really.
We'll figure it out.
Not really immediately impactful, right? So, you know, that's why, you know, these things are interesting to us, they're interesting to you guys, we're going to share with you guys, like, you know, what they mean as we learn more about them. But there is nothing urgent about them right now, right? Especially on these kind of scales, right? If you see, like, you know, like this, right? The thing starts dropping off, like off the plot, that's different, right?
We'll come online and talk about that if we see that happening one night, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's a different kind of thing, right? You guys can kind of see that in the plots, right? So I think I'm going to go back to the top here to reach the tilt. And let's go to the tilt.
Got a green light on me.
Come on, finger. Alright, so we'll have the Hawaii tracker tilt here. Thanks, Dane, for your comments. I see Dane's watching and adding some information about other points, changes, other GPS things. Yeah, but I'm going to just keep moving on, Dane. Thanks. So here is our tilt plots. Let me go down here to where we see both together for the last week. So over the last week, you can see, first of all, look at the scale. We're looking at half microradian intervals between the dashes, right?
Very small.
And there is neither one of these lines is flat, obviously, right? So you can see variations, right? Some of the variation is the diurnal signal, the day-to-day heating, but there's more besides that, right? There's at least one earthquake showing.
Yep,
right there. John got to point it out, right? There's deflation and inflation cycles that seem to be
deflate and inflate, deflate and inflate again.
Right,
and
so
this almost almost looks like one big deflation
sure
inflation
does, yeah.
sort of thing.
Sure does, yeah. So yeah, there's definitely, you know, like that we still believe is related to the gas, and you know, like I'm saying, probably deeper down, you know, how the dynamics. That's not something I know anything about right now, and I can give you an idea, but it's anyone's guess, basically, you know, like exactly how that pipe looks, how it turns over, how often it comes up, why it comes up as often as it does. Like, you know, there's a lot of variability there, right? You know, like we thought we might have some regularity to start, and now it's basically sped it up a lot. If anything, we have, you know, it's happening almost all the time, right?
Right. Yeah. And we can see, so on the background on this map is our Pu'uo'o tilt, and it's been rising. And in the past week, you can't see a whole lot of relationship between the deflate and inflate, but it's still moving on up just gradually. And then if we look at the whole month for the summit, now in this plot, both green and blue are the summit. So that's not the Pu'uo'o line, but it's showing you that over the past month, the summit is deflated and inflated several times, and the Pu'uo'o line would be continuing going up. So it's changed a little bit with these deflation, inflation, indicating there might be some kind of connection still. But overall, Pu'u'o is still showing an inflation trend. Yeah, it's on the on their deformation page. They got the month long. Yeah, so you just gotta always be sure of what plot you're looking at. So on this line, we've got them both together. The blue is the summit, the green is Pu'u'o, and while the summit has been going up and down, it's not really getting anywhere. You see, it's not leading upwards very much. Oops. But here we are again. But the Pu'u'o line is moving up gradually and is still going up now. So that's our indication of one of our spots indicating the inflation in the east rim.
By the way, if you guys don't know which the green line actually is, here's how you can tell. Right up here it says POO. Right. So that's the green line is Pu'u'o, and in the previous one on the back, so if you guys are looking at this on your own and not get confused, in this case it says SMC proposed, right? So that's how you can tell.
Yep, they're both the same location.
Yeah. So yeah, we're back on the tracker page, and there's some change in the escape road as well, right? This one is definitely telling us something. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is because it's at the junction of the rift zone and the caldera area, so it could show it helps other stations to kind of figure out what's going on, but by itself, it's hard to figure out what it means, right? So without going into any deeper analysis than that, I'll just kind of just point out, that there was like an inflation trend, or there kind of is an inflation trend with possibly a slight dampening just in the last day or two.
Yeah.
But overall, an inflation trend.
We got Mulivai. So here's Pu'u'o. Two lines, both representing Pu'u'o. And so it's heading up there. And then the one that's lower down the rift from Pu'u'o was very, very flat, even deflating for a while this month. And now it looks like it might be headed slightly back up again. So that's interesting. It was coming down for a while, and now it's leveled off and seems to be coming up. And we'll watch it to see what's happening there.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And the only one we didn't talk about might have been this Mulivai Pile, which is also kind of a south flank station. And it's this is one we kind of pointed out that we might have seen some evidence of possible movement, like where we see the smaller peaks, like there and there, would kind of maybe combined or before or after the inflation. It's been not quite clear, but it's kind of doing the same thing. You can say that its trend is basically the same. There's nothing unusual happening here.
At very small scale.
Very small scale. Yeah. So, is there anything else on tilt, John? You'd like to?
No, those are the trends right now.
Yeah, so a couple of little differences recently as far as which direction things are going, but at the surface, maybe there's no gas page, but reload this HBO page here. How it's showing them checking the gases in the cracks, temperature in the cracks, right? Similar to like what we've been doing in our own in some other places, right?
Let's talk about what it might mean in our forecast, like we were doing before we started the broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just finish off the gas first.
Okay.
Just very basically, the gas is there's no change in the gas. We'll leave it at that, right? I think Dane had a write up on the gas a little more recently, right? How it's kind of long-term decrease, right? We're to basically 35 tons out of Pu'u'o, and like a few weeks ago it was 70, and a few weeks before that it was 160. And these are kind of fairly small changes overall from the original starting point of 2000. But it has been like a pretty gradual, continuing decline, right? So, but basically, what we learned that's different is that there's still CO2 at the summit. I learned that from reading abstracts from the AGU meeting. The American Geophysical Union meeting in Washington, D.C. is happening today, and all week really, since Tuesday, I believe. And that's where most of the scientists are presenting syntheses of what they've been discovering here, right? And so some of that information is in the abstracts, and that little bit was in there, right? So that's how we know about the carbon. Cool. And apart from that, the SO2 reports from the USGS haven't really altered significantly. So
small amount of gas.
Yeah, still coming out. Still, people are still smelling it. Still detectable, right? Still can cause headaches and all that kind of thing. Depending on your exposure level, exactly where you are. But like as far as volcanically, there's no sign of new magma coming in. Right, the magmas to the shallow parts where it released sulfur dioxide gas in particular. right?
Okay. Okay.
Because deeper down, it's, you know, out of the range of gas. That's, you know, gas won't tell us about that, right? So shallow, where SO2 would be released from shallow magma, that's not happening.
Yeah, it's not increasing.
That's not happening, and that's something I expect to happen, even if it's only shortly before a small eruption. Like that should change. You know, fresh magma almost.
Gas is the smoking gun.
Yeah.
Good. Aloha.
Yeah. So let's turn now to the idea of what USGS has put out, which is there's a paper in Science that was just published. It's kind of a synthesis paper, you know, of eruption, basically, right? And there's also, along with it, an article in the Tribune Herald today, written by Tom Callis, who pulled out, you know, like some key points of that article. And I'm not sure. Do you want to go through the whole article? Is it maybe?
Oh, I just think we should talk about, like, everyone wants a forecast or prediction. And it's funny, you know, because Phil and I don't agree on a lot of things, but then a lot of things we actually do agree on completely. But it's just might be interesting people understand, you know, the range of uncertainty. Like, I would be totally cool with I think most people would be cool with the volcano not erupting for like 3 years, 5 years, longer. And I can see there's a good chance of that based on what's happening with the south flank moving, making more space available. It might take a while for the volcano to overcome all these factors and pressurize again to the point of eruption. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it erupts a lot sooner than that, like in less than a year. And so that's my range of spread. Like, I can totally see, based on what we're seeing, it might take a few years, maybe even longer. But I also think there's a good chance that it could erupt sooner. And so we have to just keep watching. There's no way to reconcile that spread of forecast until we have more information, right? And if something changes and it's like gonna erupt next week, there's gonna be signs and we'll get online and do a report. But at the same time, we could be nestling into a few really good years to maybe several really good years of no more lava erupting on the surface. It doesn't mean the volcano's not cooking away, stashing lava underground, filling all the cracks, making up for the pressure that it needs to make up for with the south flank giving and moving. So that could take, I can see easily a few years, 3 to 5 sounds reasonable to me. But on my side, it could be a lot shorter.
Lull or pause.
I'm not even saying pause anymore. We've moved beyond lull and pause. Yeah, I didn't say it this time. I've said it before, but so that's the articles we were looking at. USGS, one way to describe it is we're in a lull, and this could last for maybe up to years, and we might see other things happen short of an actual like concerning eruption. And so, yeah, I'm losing my voice. You should say something next.
Yeah, so maybe, you know, I think Tom did a pretty good job. So maybe I'll just read out like the quotes he pulled out from the article. Maybe not all of them, but like the one that relates to what John's talking about in particular right now. But let me find it here. So where is it here? And it kind of relates to the last time there was a summit collapse in 24, right? So here's what they say. A low in surface activity followed the 24 summit collapse, which may have also been associated with flank instability. If future activity at Kīlauea follows a similar pattern, in the next several years we will see little, if any, significant eruptive activity. However, it is also possible that reduced summit pressure may promote higher rates of supply from depth because of the imbalance, which could result in renewed activity sooner than expected, right? So like there's always the uncertainty.
Yep.
But the model that we have, the only model we have where we have actually any data, besides knowing it collapse happened in 1790, is a 24 collapse, which is much smaller than this. And in that case, it took, I think it was 9 months before the first pad of lava came up, and it was like it was less than 2 weeks of lava in Hale Mau. And then that happened 9 times over the following, I forget, 10-ish years, something like that. I remember the year exactly, right?
Small eruptions.
From 24 until basically 34. Yeah, 10 years, yeah. And then 34 to 52, nothing. That was 18 years of quiet. And so they are, the way I read this is, you know, the next sentence, only a few small eruptions were seen in the following decade with total absence of eruptions for another 18 years. The context seems to be that this is a possibility. Like, this is the far range of how long it could be quiet. We could have like a kind of broken apart to where magma's coming in little pockets. Maybe you have small eruptions here or there, but overall, more quiet than erupting. You know, not like 35 years continuously of Pu'o'o. Like that, I would argue, is
Could it
not
be
what we should expect.
24 years? Could be.
Yeah.
See, I understand, and it's just, I think that the magma supply since 1924 has increased. I think what I look at currently as what our most similar situation would be 1975. After the large earthquake 1975, the South Flank moved, and it took several years, like 2 to 4 years, with no lava on the surface. But there were intrusions underground in the East Rift and in other areas as well, as it made up the pressure before it led to new eruptions again. So I see our time right now is similar to 1975. And also just, you know, what they're mentioning is that when the magma chamber's empty, because of the disequilibrium, it recharges quicker. And that could lead to eruptions, large or small, sooner. And so I see those as factors in this game, which caused me to limit it into smaller number of years for potential pause.
No, for sure, yeah.
But I also agree we can't rule out 18.
Yeah.
I only rule out 24 because Kavi's saying it. I like to give him a hard time. But I mean, that's at one range, and I see it as kind of smaller.
Yeah.
Maybe a few years is more reasonable, just the way I'm looking at it.
I agree 100%.
1975.
I was pointing out like the most extreme, like you know, like what's, because you could argue that this collapse of the summit was much larger than 24, so we actually should expect a longer pause.
More extreme.
Right, so you know that's totally in play.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that's what we should necessarily expect, at least not with what we know today, because we just don't know enough.
Right, but then we also have Mauna Loa to consider, and if Mauna Loa takes the magma for the next 3 or 5 years, then maybe we'll hear from her next instead.
Yeah, it seems to me as likely we see Mauna Loa's activity increase sooner than Kīlauea. That's as likely to me it happens at Mauna Loa goes.
We'll get online and do an update if we see anything, though. Don't
that could be something that we, you know, maybe next year we'll like open that whole can of worms. You know,
we'll see if it's happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
But to kind of support what John was saying, like, you know, if you look at the statistics of the data we do have, most eruptions do come back within 3 years. Like 95% of them, right? Like the 18-year gap is the only long gap, longer than 3. Well, I might have meant a 5-year gaps, but you know, there's not many. You know, like. There might be 1 5 and 1 18, but most of them are 3 years or less, like almost every single time, right? And you know, I think that's the model we're all kind of seeing, you know, in common of all the things we all have our own take on it. You know, even like talking to like Rick Hassel today, like, everyone's got their own spin on like how, you know, we have like what we kind of all agree on, and we have our own branches from there of what we think separate from that. Like everyone kind of has a little bit of that going on, you know, to some degree. But we kind of all, like, it seems in common now, we're all kind of agreeing there's something happening with the South Flank, right? And that's affecting like how it can pressurize, which affects how it can erupt. And so
it might take a while.
It could take a while, right? You know, and when eruptions happen in this situation in the past, even if it doesn't take a while, those eruptions don't last long.
Hopefully.
In the past.
Yeah.
No guarantee for the future, no promises, right? But like, you know, for example, if those of you who drove through the park through Chinook Creekers Road, cross all those flows from the fissures, right? Every flow's got a sign that the sign just says 1 month and 1 year.
Yeah, they erupted like for days instead of
a couple
years,
weeks at most, right? So like,
but as a caveat for that, when we talked about it earlier, is that, you know, that's the pattern, that as it regains the pressure, it might only be able to sustain brief eruptions in the future, and those in the future that are down the line, years in the future, small, brief eruptions. I'm still at one end of my spectrum of considerations is that we could be set up to vent like Pu'u'o was venting and sustain a continuous eruption because the intrusion has already come in. But we need more information. We need more time to see what signals are arising, you know. So these are all in our bag of possibilities, but I think we're both kind of narrowing in on like, well, either way, it could easily be a few years.
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be great if it was a few years before anything happened? We would have a few years to heal, fix up the yard, plant some new trees, the economy will grow back, all of that kind of stuff could be what we're setting into, and we might as well treat it like that until we have other information, you know? Treat it like, okay, we got through it, you guys. It's the end of the year. Put it behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just so much we don't know. Is it? You know, like there's so much that we're learning now. So much is going to be coming out of the data that's been collected that we just don't know yet because we don't have, you know, what is being processed and being published, all that. And so there's a lot we don't know. Like, you know, one question to me that's still like a big question is this whole supply rate issue. Because to me, there's two different supply rates. There's a supply rate into the volcano at depth, and then what actually comes to the surface. Like, how shallow can it get is a secondary part of that.
And you throw in the deep rift, and then we really don't know.
Yeah, if you make extra space down there,
then we really don't know.
It could be coming to the volcano even faster than before, and not reaching the surface less than before. And like, those could both happen at the same time, potentially, depending on what's actually happening. We just don't know.
Yeah.
At least I don't know. Maybe someone else knows.
Those are factors, though. Yeah. So, but the point is, if anything changes in a way that changes our relative level of alert, we'll let you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, since we're gonna leave it for a little while, I'm just gonna read the rest of what HBO actually says, right?
Well, we need to join this party too soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
you should too. Come on down.
So a couple last things, right? So they do say they've been monitoring inflation along the Middle East Rift Zone between Pu'u and Highway 130, which suggests it is refilling with magma, although there are no signs of an imminent eruption. That's what they're saying. That's the text they're using, and so that's similar to what we're saying as well, right? So I mean. You guys can check out that Tribune Herald article, or it's probably for most of you guys more accessible than the science paper. The paper is also out there. We'll share that online. I'm not sure if it'll go on Tracker or where we'll put it out, but that's kind of maybe a recap of all the things we've been discussing. You know, like we've been talking about most of these things at some point in the last few months, right? You know, whether it's, you know, all these different aspects of it. So kind of just touching on all again right now. You know, kind of wrap. You know, so if we come back and everything is totally different, then we'll have some reference to come back to, you know, but we don't expect that right now.
No.
But we're not in charge, right? So
definitely not in charge of this thing. We have no real say in the matter at all, but we'll let you know if we see anything. That's for sure.
So that'll the science part can be done. We have one more thing we want to share with you guys, with the community, and that's with Lei. Are you ready, Lei?
I'm ready.
All right. So
hi, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know that a lot of people have been coming to me that weren't ready to do the healing earlier, but they're starting to get to the point now where they're ready to deal with all those emotions and things are settling down a little bit. And so they've been asking me if I would repost the timeline, which was such a good healing tool for a lot of people, so that they can continue to use it. So the timeline is now back on Hawaii Tracker again. It can also be found online in some other places, but the easiest way to find it is on Hawaii Tracker. So if anybody out there needs it, you're welcome to use it. You're welcome to download it, do whatever you need to do with it. But if you need it for a healing tool, or you just want it as a reference, it's there for you and it's waiting for you.
Yeah, it's an awesome resource, you guys. So definitely taking advantage. Yeah, and if anyone wants to add to it, feel free. You know, like that helps everyone else.
Please send in your comments. Yes.
Yeah. So all right, so here we are at the hub. We're gonna, you know, everyone's kind of filled in. Let me show you guys what's going on here.
Starting to be proud.
Yeah, it's happening down here. So from us here at Pu'uhonua, you know, we'll be back. Just to remind you guys once again, Monday we'll be here again. Ikaka did say they have enough stuff to open again for distribution. That's what he told me last time. Unless it changes that, check out Pu'uhonua page so that changes. In any case, the dinner is happening on Monday. He assured me, 6 to 8 Monday night. It's going to be Monday night. From the word Ikaka himself. So. From all of us here at the hub, myself and John, especially.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, mahalo. Stay together, enjoy the holidays.
It's been an honor.
Yeah,
it's been an honor.
John.
Hey, Phil.
All right, guys. Shoots.